Yeah.
Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. In a surprising move, Marshall found themselves on the market for a brand new head coach after the Thundering Herd parted ways with Doc Holliday after 11 years with the program. And I've got to say, guys, when I got that news, when I heard that Doc Holliday had been let go, when the two sides had parted ways and his contract wasn't going to be renewed, I was surprised. I was very surprised because we've always talked about how solid Doc Holliday's Marshall teams were, how consistent they were. And maybe that was the problem. Maybe it was the fact that Marshall was too consistent, that for the most part, they were just a 7 or 8 win team. Every now and then they might have a breakthrough year, but they were never going to jump to an elite level like they wanted to. You look at Doc Holliday, guys, 11 years with Marshall, 85-54 during his time with the Thundering Herd, won one Conference USA title, just one back in 2014. He did make 3 Conference USA titles, including this last season. You remember Marshall at one point in time was one of the higher-ranked Group of 5 teams in the country. The Thundering Herd started the season 7-0. They won their first 7 games. And while they probably were not going to be able to contend for a New Year's Six bowl game against the likes of Coastal Carolina and Cincinnati and guys like that, they were looking at a possible top 15 finish. After their 7-0 start, though, Marshall lost their final 3 games. They scored a combined 23 points in those 3 games. It included a conference championship loss to UAB, included their bowl loss to Buffalo, and then, of course, included that 20-0 upset shutout loss to Rice. But Doc Holliday, winning seasons in 8 of his 11 seasons in Huntington, was 6-2 in bowl games. We always knew that when Marshall got to a bowl game, they had a very good chance of winning as long as Doc Holliday was on the sideline, although he did lose his last 2 bowl games. So maybe the consistency, maybe the stagnant of the program. The program is becoming very stagnant in Huntington was a reason that the two decided to part ways. Marshall needed a jump start. They needed something fresh, something new, something energetic to spice up this program and get them back to the level that we know they can be, the level they can play at. So what did Marshall do? They went out and hired a young, energetic head coach who's an excellent recruiter. And that is Charles Huff, who's just 37 years old and is already a very well-traveled and experienced coach. Now, that does not mean that he has been a head coach. He's a well-traveled and experienced coach because of all the different stops that he has had over the course of his career. Look at some of these stops, guys, in just the recent years. 2014 to 2017, he was at Penn State, was their running back coach. In 2018, he was at Mississippi State, was their associate head coach and their running back coach. And then most recently, 2019 to 2020, was with Alabama as their associate head coach and running back coach. And all of those positions are so key, guys, because if you look at all those teams, when Huff has been there, they're pretty good. Alabama, naturally, just won the national championship. Penn State was in the hunt for Big Ten titles, won one while Huff was there. Big Ten titles in playoff contention during his time there. Mississippi State, yeah, sure, they weren't like a nationally competitive team, but the one key stat is that as their running back coach, Mississippi State running backs had 0 fumbles. The Bulldogs fumbled 0 times, their running backs did, when Huff was their coach in 2018. You look at his recruiting process, guys. He was huge in recruiting and working with Saquon Barkley at Penn State. That's a freak of nature. And we saw how good Saquon Barkley was at Penn State, and we know how good he has been in the NFL and how great he can be if he can stay healthy. You look at Alabama, coached Najee Harris, and we saw how great Najee Harris was this last year. Arguably the best running back in the country. So he has SEC experience at both Mississippi State and Alabama. He has played a huge role in recruiting big-time playmakers to a Big Ten school and 2 SEC schools. And when he gets those recruits there, he develops them and makes them phenomenal football players that make the plays and are also disciplined. Excellent, excellent teammates. So he's a great recruiter. He's got the associate head coaching experience. He's well-traveled, and he's worked with Nick Saban. And if you followed us over the journey of these coaching change videos, you've heard us say that, yeah, not every hire of a guy that's been with Saban is a great hire. But it does do a lot for a guy. It does a lot to work with Nick Saban, whether it's for 1 year or 20 years, working under Nick Saban, the greatest college coach in football history, being on a championship caliber team, learning the championship way, it does a lot. And we see a lot of times guys that work under Nick Saban go off and take head coaching jobs, and they are very successful. Yes, they are talented coaches, but you can bet your money they learned a lot from the GOAT himself. And that is why Charles Huff, again, just 37 years old, that's a very impressive hire and a very impressive list of schools that he already has on his resume. Now he's got a head coaching gig to add to that. So we kind of went over his background a little bit, what he brings to the table at Marshall. Let's look at the outlook for 2021 for the Thundering Herd. You look at their schedule, guys, it's not easy. Certainly not ideal for a first-year head coach. They opened the season at Navy. Navy had a bit of a down year in 2020. They built up those players a little bit. 2021 should be a bit of a bounce-back year for the midshipmen. So at Navy, not an easy task anyways when you're trying to stop that triple option. At Appalachian State, Marshall pulled off that upset over the Mountaineers in 2020. I would beg to, I'd think that Appalachian State would be favored in this 2021 matchup. So at the Mountaineers, they host UAB in a Conference USA title rematch. So a couple big-time games there, a couple big road games. I would say UAB is their biggest home conference game, and that's the big deal, that they're getting the Blazers at home. I think outside of the schedule, though, guys, the two things you need to really watch out for and see what Charles Huff can do with bringing in his staff and bringing in his style is, one, can Marshall keep up the elite defense and stout defenses that we saw for years on end under Doc Holliday? And Marshall was never necessarily the flashiest offensive team. They were at times, but you could bet your money they were going to have a pretty good defense. Can that stay the same in Huntington under Huff? The second thing is, can Grant Wells continue to develop? Will he show a significant step forward in year two as starter now under new leadership? You saw Grant Wells. He was kind of the talk of college football at the beginning of 2020. He had a fantastic showing against Eastern Kentucky, and I think that was a little premature of a lot of us to assume that he was his next best thing because of a great showing against Eastern Kentucky. But you look at the first 7 games, 16 touchdowns and just 4 interceptions. Not bad stats for a freshman. The final 3 games, though, all of which resulted in Marshall losses, Wells threw just 2 touchdowns to 5 interceptions and never eclipsed 165 passing yards. Became stagnant. He hit the ground. No one knew how to move the ball in the Marshall offense, and it resulted. It showed big. Remember, there's 23 points over their final 3 games combined. So those are the 2 big storylines you need to watch out for in 21. The defense and quarterback development. You get that, Huff is a guy that can take Marshall back to the Conference USA Championship, yes, in year 1. And if he doesn't, he can have them there very, very soon and continually have them there. So let's give him a grade. Why don't we give him a grade? We've done it for everybody else. Charles Huff, 37 years old, energetic, offensive mind, worked with some great running backs, excellent recruiter. That's what Huntington, that's what Marshall needs. We're giving Charles Huff an A. This, to me, is an A hire. Again, things were just kind of getting bland under Doc Holliday. You never really saw many peaks. They plateaued. It was just steady going. Yeah, we expect to go to bowl games, and they certainly will expect to go bowling in year 1 under Charles Huff. I'm not changing that. But now Charles Huff is the guy that can take Marshall to the point where they're winning multiple Conference USA championships, where maybe they schedule well enough, they could contend for a New Year's 6 bowl game, where they can remain a nationally ranked team, go to bowl games, and continue to win in the postseason, very much like Doc Holliday did. Remember, 6 bowl games, 6 bowl victories in 8 appearances. So this is a new, fresh look for a Thundering Herd team that I think desperately needed it. He's worked under Nick Saban. You're going to see a lot of that rub off on this Marshall program very, very early on. He can land some big-time recruits to Huntington. Again, a very proud program, a very proud community. They're all in on Marshall athletics, and that's going to be a great selling point for Huff, no doubt about it. This is an A hire, and the Thundering Herd are not going anywhere anytime soon. So guys, thank you so much for watching us here at The Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Also, make sure to check out everything down in the description below. We've got so much content there for you guys to help you get through this offseason, whether it's our Gridiron Expert merchandise or exclusive content on our website, thegridironexpert.com, our Patreon account, our BetNow account, all of those things. You need to go check it out right down there in the description. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. And we'll see you next time right here on The Gridiron Expert.
Bye.